Okay. I think we're ready to go. Right, I have to reactivate my C card. Come on. There we go. Give me a second. I'll let this play out. Why not? It's been a hot minute since we watched it.
The nuclear weapons disposal facility on Shadow Moses Island in Alaska's Fox Archipelago was attacked and captured by Next Generation Special Forces, being led by members of Foxhound. They're demanding that the government turn over the remains of Big Boss, and they say that if their demands are not met within 24 hours, they'll launch a nuclear weapon. You'll have two mission objectives. First, you're to rescue DARPA Chief Donald Anderson and the president of Armstech, Kenneth Baker. Both are being held as hostages. Secondly, you're to investigate whether or not the terrorists have the ability to make a nuclear strike, and stop them if they do.
What's the insertion method?
We'll approach the disposal facility by sub.
And then?
We'll launch a one-man SDV. After the SDV gets as close as it can, dispose of it. From there on, you'll have to swim.
Biscuits are lovely. Cookies, I mean. Okay.
High-Tech Special Forces Unit Foxhound. Your former unit, and one that I was a commander of.
So they're still around.
There are 6 members of Foxhound involved in this terrorist activity. Psycho Mattis, with his powerful psychic abilities.
He was a
Sniper
fun fight.
Wolf, a beautiful and deadly sharpshooter. Decoy Octopus, master of disguise. Vulcan Raven, giant and shaman.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And
When you think about
Revolver
it,
Ocelot,
he had rescued 2 people.
interrogation,
One was a crippled old man,
fighter, and finally,
and he had no equipment, no way of retrieving them or exfiltrating them.
Snake,
Liquid Snake.
the man with the same code.
It's insanity when you think about it.
Nuclear weapons disposal
The only one he
facility
could
covering
save
the whole island.
Was able to, he could only do it because he had to operate by himself.
Anyone going with me?
As usual, this is a one-man infiltration mission.
Like, that was
Equipment,
Otacon.
OSP.
And the only other person he saved, Meryl,
Top secret black
is because
ops.
she survived
Don't expect
torture
any
and was
official
conveniently there at the end. There was no scenario where Snake could have saved anyone. Outside of those 2 people, but they kind of had their own little plot armor to make that happen. So, today we're in the briefing room. And we'll take this opportunity to just talk. Like,
It's been a long time.
I suppose to continue on from what you said last time,
Colonel.
you're absolutely right
An old war buddy Snake.
What
that
do you want?
it was fairly sad for Fox to go down like that,
Invited?
especially when he seemed to finally have found himself.
Soldiers after me?
Sorry if they were a little rough with you.
And
But we've got
it's made more tragic if you played the original Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, especially Metal Gear 2, because they actually gave him a story.
Anymore, and I don't have to take orders from you or
And
anyone
it's
else.
fairly tragic. It makes Gray Fox one of the more tragic characters in the story. Not the tragic. That goes to the big boss.
Excuse me.
Who's this?
Dr. Naomi Hunter. She's chief of Foxhound's medical staff and an expert in gene therapy.
He really does look like Liquid there, doesn't he?
Civilian. I've been sent here from ATGC. Pleasure to meet you, Snake. Don't worry.
That hair
It's
color
not
implies that
What's the shot for?
It almost implies that Snake's natural hair color is blonde.
Snake, listen up. It all went down 5 hours ago. Heavily armed soldiers occupied Shadow Moses Island, a remote island off the coast of Alaska.
Actually, I think it is. Doesn't Snake dye his hair
Next generation
in this
special
game?
forces, led by members of Unit Foxhound. They've presented Washington with a single demand, and they say that if it isn't met, they'll launch a nuclear weapon.
Maybe I just misunderstood. Maybe he just cuts his hair.
You see, the island is the site of a secret nuclear weapons disposal
But you're right.
facility.
Here's the complete image
Foxhound hijacked
of Liquid.
a
Look at him.
weapon?
Now you understand.
He's just
how
Liquid with a
serious
slightly
the
more
situation
refined
is.
jaw and a beard.
You'll have 2 mission objectives.
I think he has a beard.
First, you're to rescue
Looks like he has a
Private
beard
Chief
and a mustache.
Donald Anderson.
It could just be the weird angles of the
Kenneth Baker.
camera.
They're both being held as hostages.
Those are some heavy-duty hostages.
Secondly, you're to investigate whether or not the terrorists have the ability
Yeah,
to
I
launch
think
a
it's the
nuclear
shadows.
strike, and stop them if they do. Any questions, Snake?
Questions? I haven't even said whether I'd accept this mission.
No, I think it's a
You can make up
beard.
your mind after
I'm pretty
you
sure he
hear
has a
more about
beard.
the situation.
Gonna be interesting. Oh wait, wrong controller. Uh-huh.
Colonel, I don't work for the government anymore. Let me
Butt
go back to
naked.
Twin Lakes.
Why, Snake?
Can't believe they
Is your
kidnapped
life
him
in
and stripped
Alaska
him.
all that great?
There's a dog sled race this week. Next Saturday, I have to be in Anchorage.
Iditarod, the longest sled race in the world? When did you become a dog musher?
Right now, my 50 huskies are my only family. I've got to take care of them.
Don't worry about your dogs.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, Snake, but this vessel is headed for the Bering Sea. There's no room for debate.
I told you, even if I do owe you, I don't owe anything to this army or this country.
You will accept this assignment.
Why should I be stupid enough to do that? I'm no patriot.
Snake, there's enough dirt in your file from your days as an agent to keep you in the stockade until you're a very old man.
Oh, I see. Blackmail.
No, Snake. I prefer to look at it as helping you come to a decision more easily. Anyway, I know you better. than
God,
that.
the Colonel really knows how to be a dick.
Even without the threat,
Why do you say that?
you're a natural-born soldier. You're not the grow old gracefully type. It's the same for all of us who've seen real action. The only place we can feel truly alive is on the battlefield. I'm a soldier too. I know those feelings of powerlessness, frustration that you feel every day. You've tried to play the Boy Scout out there in Alaska, but you can't race dogs in the snow forever.
Making a lot of
Why
assumptions.
don't you come back to us and be a soldier again?
You think my life is some kind of a joke?
Snake, I just want to give you back your purpose in life.
The Colonel really tried to manipulate him there, didn't he? Wait, why am I out of the briefing? Wait, what's going on here?
It's been a long time, Snake.
Oh no, that's just a reintroduction. So, it gives us, the description is infiltration method, but it cuts out like part of the way through. Did a button jostle or something? What the hell is wrong here? Okay, so the first one plays fine. The second one won't. And it exits me out. Is the briefing bugged? Hey. The figure right there in the center of the screen. The little photo in the center. Is that Big Boss? It can't be Big Boss. I only ask because it has, you know, a covering over the eye. But that could just be bad shadowing. Oh. Oh, I understand now. I have to actually go across.
Tell me about the nuclear weapon disposal facility.
The disposal facility includes a hardened underground base. Even with our most advanced intelligence gathering equipment, we can't tell what's happening inside.
So someone needs to penetrate, gather intelligence, and report back. Sounds like a spy movie. What's the insertion method?
Well, an air insertion is impossible.
Well, we already know how they insert.
Storm going on.
We'll approach the disposal facility by sub.
Approach.
Yes, within a few miles of it. The facility is equipped with sonar detection
Yeah,
capabilities. They'd be able to hear
it definitely
our
reminds
engine
me of the
propeller noise.
redesign of Big Boss.
We'll launch a one-man SDV.
In Metal Gear 2, I think it was.
Same as a torpedo, only this has no propulsion device of its own. After the SDV gets as close as it can, dispose of it. From there on, you'll have to swim.
You want me to swim in sub-zero Alaskan water?
Don't worry. That suit represents the latest advances in polythermal technology. The nuclear weapons disposal facility covers the whole island. I'll instruct
God,
you
this
after you reach your target.
this stuff was so high tech back in the
As
day.
usual, this is a one-man
Fucking blew my
infiltration
mind.
Weapons and equipment OSP?
Yes, this is a top secret black op. Don't expect any official support.
Okay. There's a time limit.
What's the time limit?
24 hours.
Really? Oh yeah, they mentioned that at the
Launch
beginning.
After 24 hours.
Do they say what the target will be?
So far, they haven't mentioned the target.
When did the countdown start?
5 hours ago.
So 19 hours. And we bet the game in 6 hours. I think it was 6 hours. What was I thinking? Oh, is he smoking? He's smoking.
Colonel, who are you speaking for?
Naturally, I'm representing the U.S. government.
Bullshit.
So who's in supervisory control
Well,
of this
sort of.
operation?
He's representing
President of
the...
the United States.
Which means that the president must be meeting with his top aides in the map room about now, huh?
No, at this point, they're still video conferencing with each other.
If
What?
that's a real nuclear warhead, shouldn't they issue a COG?
Not yet. The Secretary of Defense has operational control and is fully aware of the situation.
But the president's...
After you infiltrate,
Technically, the president is aware. Because he was in on it with,
Well, if
with,
they haven't relocated to a
Ocelos.
nuclear shelter under Mount Washington, I suppose
But
there isn't that much reason to worry
he...
yet. Is the national
But it's
security agency
implied
on
the
this?
president is completely unaware of it by Jim, the Secretary of Defense.
The DIA. I'm starting to get a bad
So the
feeling.
president was manipulating everyone, even within house.
We don't need desk jockeys. We need
It's really
a nuclear
interesting.
weapons specialist.
Of course. A nuclear weapons specialist has already been assigned to us.
That specialist, actually, the weapon specialist we found, she's actually completely optional. We never have to find her codec at any point or call her at any point. And if you miss the codec at the one instance where they tell you it, you can't get her again. And to make matters more interesting, Like, they won't tell you her codec again. But to make matters more interesting with her is that she disappears from the series completely after this. I don't know if she ever ended up anywhere. She just fell out of the series. So it makes you wonder what the fuck happened to her. Ooh, excuse me.
Backup from a specialist. I'm just an amateur when it comes to nuclear weapons.
I know. That's
There she
why I
is.
requested the assistance of a
Natasha.
military analyst named Nastasha Romanenko. She'll be providing you backup by Kodak.
Nastasha.
Email analyst?
She's built up an impressive record as an advisor for the nuclear emergency.
Where did
surgeon.
she go?
Contact her if you have any questions. She's also an expert on high-tech weapons.
Where's she working from?
At her home in Los Angeles.
Remote work.
California. Seems like a million miles away.
Imagine it does. Let's see. Nastasha Romanenko. Where did you end up? Oh, she's Ukrainian/Russian. Oh, God, that's sensitive to today's times. She was apparently born in Ukraine. Huh. Okay, post Shadow Moses. So she fled from California and went into hiding. She felt incredibly affected by what she had heard during her time helping Snake. After failing to contact ARMS through the DIA, Natasha was convinced that buying her safety and freedom had been a costly act for him. Having grown tired of being an objective bystander, she decided to go public with what she knew and attempted to expose the conspiracy behind the incident, putting herself in renewed danger. She wrote the book entitled In the Darkness of Shadow Moses, The Unofficial Truth. Oh, so she's the one who wrote the book that I think was mentioned in the second game. After overcoming many obstructions, Natasha was ultimately successful in publishing her book. She donated royalties to help fund Snake and Otacon's anti-Metal Gear organization's philanthropy. Afterwards, she disappeared from the public eye once more. Even with Snake being unaware of her location by the time of the Big Shell incident in 2009, though he assumed she was still a heavy smoker. Natasha later provided the information to Otacon regarding rumours of the deployment of Dwarf Gecko. Otacon relayed this information to Snake by Kodak after the latter encountered said unmanned weapon upon his return to Shadow Moses. So she is still in the game, in the series. She just takes an extremely passive and out of the way approach to it. She supplies funding and long-term support. It's actually rather interesting. So Natasha is... I don't know what to think about that. That's actually really clever. It removes her, but it also provides an answer to certain information. Right, so, next one.
Colonel, you're retired. Why are you involved in this?
Because there aren't many people who know Foxhound as well as I do.
Is that really the only reason?
I've been soldiering for a long time. I don't know anything else. I guess
Yeah.
even though I'm getting a little old, I still love to be in the field.
Colonel, you're a lousy liar. Tell me the real reason.
Okay, Snake. Sorry. I'll be frank.
Ah,
A person very dear to me is being held hostage.
Who is it?
Meryl.
My niece, Meryl.
So he's honest with his motives from the start. He just wasn't honest about specifics of the motive.
What was your niece doing here?
Several soldiers were reported missing the day of the revolt.
Mm-hmm.
And my niece was one of those called in as an emergency replacement.
She looks like you.
She's my little brother's girl. He died in the Gulf War. Since then, I've been watching after her.
A personal motive, Colonel. That's not very soldierly.
I'm retired. I'm just an old man now. And I'm your friend.
Since when are we friends?
I've thought of us as friends since the fall of Zanzibar.
With my personality, I don't have too many friends.
That's what I trust about you. It's what makes you human. Please.
And it's interesting
say
that
your niece, Meryl.
he turns around and calls Campbell a friend about halfway through the game.
Name them.
1, no more secrets between us. I want complete disclosure at all times. And 2, I'll only accept orders directly from you, Colonel. No cutoffs involved, okay?
Oof.
Agreed. That's why I was called. But one thing,
What?
I'm not a colonel anymore. Just a retired old warhorse.
Understand, Colonel.
I think there was a small smile there on the that popped up when he said Colonel again. I think Snake was being a little dick.
That doctor, is she part of this operation too?
Naomi.
She's in charge of Foxhound's gene therapy. She knows more about those men than anyone else.
You mean you've seen them naked?
Make no mistake, I'm not a nurse. I'm a scientist.
By the way, what was that injection for?
It's a combination of nanomachines and an anti-freezing peptide so that your blood and other bodily fluids don't freeze, even at subarctic temperatures.
Okay, that's clever.
Not just one kind, either. There are different types which will replenish the supply of adrenaline, nutrition, and sugar in your bloodstream.
Now I don't have to worry about food.
I also put some nootropics.
For a little bit.
Say what?
Nootropics. A class of drugs which will help improve your mental functioning.
It'll make me smarter, huh? Anything else?
Yes, Benzedrine. It's a type of stimulant. It'll keep you alert and responsive for 12 straight hours.
That was quite a cocktail. Anything else in there?
Those nanomachines will also keep your Codex batteries charged up.
I guess I can call you when I'm ready to go on a diet.
You're welcome.
Right. That's all the operation members. They didn't cover Mei Ling though. But I guess they introduced Mei Ling in the field, so besides the point. God, that's a lot of information. Now we get to learn a little bit about the DARPA chief and not forgetting the other guy, Baker.
The chief of DARPA and the president of an arms manufacturing company. What business did they have at a nuclear weapons disposal facility?
The truth is that secret exercises were being conducted at the time the terrorist group attacked.
Must be
Secret
extremely important
exercises.
if those two
My
were
ass.
involved. Were they testing some kind of new advanced weapon?
I'm
Yes.
not privy to that information.
Do we know exactly
Yeah,
where
you
they're
are.
being held?
The DARPA chief has also been injected with the mini transmitter. As you get closer, you should be able to pick up his location on your radar.
Yep. I'm gonna try and scoot in a little closer. Okay, that should be fine. Right. No idea. Whoop. Yep, that should do for positioning. Got to make sure the microphone doesn't implode. But there was surprisingly little information on the hostages there. Like, there was borderline
Do
nothing.
they really have the ability to launch a nuclear missile?
They say they do. They even gave us the serial number of the warhead they plan to use.
Was the number confirmed?
I'm afraid so. At the very least, they've got their hands on a real nuclear warhead.
Isn't there some kind of safety device to prevent this type of terrorism?
Yes. Every missile and warhead in our arsenal is equipped with a PAL, which uses a discrete detonation code.
PAL.
Permissive Action Link. The safety control system built into all nuclear weapons systems.
Oh, the PAL system.
We can't
So
rest
that explains the PAL key.
Why not?
because the DARPA chief knows the detonation code.
But even if they have a nuclear warhead, it must have been removed from its missile. All the missiles on these disposal sites are supposed to be dismantled. It's not that
Supposed to
easy
be.
get your hands on an ICBM.
That
And yet
used to
they
be
did.
true. But since the end of the Cold War, you can get anything if you have enough money and the right connections.
That's a very blunt but honest way of putting it, isn't it? Let's see, the terrorist armaments. Oh, are they going over the guns they're using? Maybe they'll mention the Hind D.
How well armed are these terrorists? I know there was an exercise going on at the time they revolted.
They're heavily armed, I'm afraid.
What about their battle experience?
The 6 members of Foxhound in charge are all hardened veterans. They're tough enough to eat nails and ask for seconds.
I didn't expect anything less from Foxhound.
The others are next-generation special forces. They're not your average grunts either.
Right. So this is that is extremely limited. Oh, how armed are they? Oh, they're very armed. And then they close the fucking... Jesus Christ. Okay, we know they have pineapples. Apparently that's the designation for the type of rifle they were using. Pineapples. I don't know the significance of that designation, but there you go. Holy
So what
shit.
exactly are they demanding?
A person's remains.
Remains?
That's right. To be more accurate, cell specimens which contain the individual's genomic information.
Cell specimens? Why would they want that?
The terrorists need them. You see, these next-generation special forces have been strengthened through gene therapy.
Strengthened?
You've heard of the Human Genome Project. They've been mapping the human genome, and they're nearly finished.
That's exactly it, Hero.
Research, the military
They have guns,
working
Snake.
towards identifying
They're heavily
those
armed.
genes which are
Don't worry,
responsible
we're
for
sending you in
making
naked.
soldiers.
There are genes that do that?
Yes, and using gene therapy.
I'm pretty
they
sure
will transplant
this game
those
was set up
genes into
before the
regular soldiers.
Gene therapy?
I'll explain
before
this.
the inclusion of
Gene therapy, we can
what was it
remove
called?
those genes which we know may lead to sickness or disease, and at the same
Nanomachine,
time, splice in genes with
locks,
beneficial effects, such as resistance
finger
to
locks,
cancer.
fingerprint locks, nanomachine locks on the guns that was featured in MGS4.
Same time, add genetic characteristics as desired.
Okay.
I wonder if
So
it,
you
if
knew
it
what
was in
genes were
2.
responsible for making
Maybe
a
it was
perfect
fingerprint
soldier,
locked
you
in
could
2.
implant them in the same way, right?
Yes.
Maybe I'm wrong.
But it all depends on being able to isolate and identify those soldier genes.
And in order to do that, it's helpful if you can study the genomic information of one of the greatest soldiers ever.
Yeah, there might be a tank. Who knows? We just happen to misplace one. We don't know where the fuck they got the helicopter though. Apparently from Russia. Actually, it is. They got the helicopter from Russia.
Greatest soldiers ever?
The man,
Uh,
the greatest warrior of the 20th century.
You don't mean
Lukovic, which was the guy who showed up at the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 2.
Incredible combat skill. So far, we've discovered about 60 of the so-called soldier genes.
Oh, it was Big Boss.
after all?
Wow.
And his cells have remained frozen.
Big
in a
Boss
cryochamber.
did not age gracefully.
Genomic information is a priceless treasure to mankind.
Priceless to the military, perhaps.
His body was burned severely, but it was possible to restore his DNA profile from just a single strand of his hair.
You people are amazing. You're gonna transplant those genes into soldiers?
Yes, we'll use a process that I discovered called gene targeting. The strongest
I remember-
soldiers don't become what they are by
I
acquiring
remember there was
skills
something called a
and training
Super
on
Soldier
slaves.
project
We now
many,
know
many,
that
many
the
years ago.
factors are far more
That was
crucial
ultimately a
for
complete
superior
failure.
soldiers.
Snake. we
Mostly
can't
because no one
get
understood
fire.
gene therapy. They thought they did.
Potentially more
But no
dangerous
one
than all
did
the
back then.
nuclear warheads on that island
Absolutely sweet
together.
fuck all
I
information.
hear the terrorists are calling themselves the
They kept
Sons
thinking
of
you could
Peace.
isolate genes that could
Sons of Big
make you
Boss.
soldiers or makes you more intelligent or stuff like that, and that they could inject those specific genes into people and magically it would apply. It was all very archaic when you think about it. But then again, that's young study back then. It's all about, a lot of it is guesswork and just trying to see if the theories are true or not. They figured it out. It's bullshit.
Tell me about these next generation special forces.
They started out as an anti-terrorist special ops unit, made up of former members of biochem units, technical escort units, and the nuclear emergency search team. Their purpose was to respond to threats involving next-generation weapons of mass destruction, including NBC weapons.
Until they were added, that is.
Who are they?
Who's they?
These guys didn't start out as regular army.
Looks like a pretty international group. Mercenaries?
Yeah, and it gets worse. Most of them were from a merc agency that I think you're familiar with. They were part of Big Boss's private guard. And after Big Boss went down, the military just bought out all their contracts.
Outer Heaven.
After that, they were merged with our own VR unit, Force 21, and retrained. If you ask me, these so-called next-generation special forces should be called simulated soldiers. They have no real battle experience.
Video game players, huh?
They've all been strengthened with gene therapy. They carry genes which make them excellent soldiers. Don't get careless just because they don't have much experience.
I thought using genetically modified soldiers was prohibited by international law.
Technically is, yes.
But those are just declarations, not actual treaties.
The interesting thing is that nearly every member of the unit conspired in this attack.
So, what? Basically, they took all the members of Outer Heaven, made them into, and had them train future generation soldiers, and hoped that, oh yeah, maybe they won't, you know, do this. Well, they took the risk. And it explains why so many of the leaders were acquainted with Big Boss.
They're calling it a revolution.
Since they all went through the same gene therapy, they probably felt closer than brothers. They see the unit as their only family.
The sons of Big Boss. But if they were regular army, they must have been interviewed periodically by army counselors.
According to their files, they all got straight A's on their psychological tests. They all seemed like fine, upstanding, patriotic soldiers.
But they all took part in the uprising?
No, several people didn't show up on the day of the exercise. That's why there was a resupply of troops.
Was there any sign recently that something might be wrong?
So people didn't turn on him.
They were acting strangely.
Apparently they consulted classified information about the soldier genes and performed their own gene therapy experiments.
They can do that even without you?
Well, our gene therapy process is almost completely automated. And besides that, they're all geniuses with IQs over 180.
Fuck.
Even the existence of this genome army is
Except they couldn't figure out what a ladder does.
We've been hoping to investigate this thing quietly and deal with it behind closed doors.
And Unit Foxhound. I assume this is the Special Forces. Well, obviously. It's all our bosses. Most of our bosses.
High-Tech Special Forces Unit Foxhound.
Okay.
Your former unit.
Oh, right.
I was a commander of. An elite group combining firepower and expertise. They're every bit as good as when I was commanding them.
So they're still around.
There are 6 members of Foxhound involved in this terrorist activity.
Well, it's implied that they don't recognize Snake. And if they, that means...
Sniper Wolf.
That's interesting. That means Foxhound was probably a much larger unit.
Decoy Octopus. Master of Disguise.
God, Decoy Octopus looks like a fucking pencil. You know, the rubber end of a pencil.
Ocelot. Specialist in interrogation. And a formidable gunfighter.
Looks like a lovely bunch of folks. Too bad we'll be meeting under these circumstances.
And finally, in charge of them, Foxhound's squad leader, Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake?
Yes. And you're the only person who can stand against him.
It takes a snake to beat a snake. Oh, more info. Just keeps going. So here is brother.
Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake.
Liquid
With the
Snake.
same code name as you.
Tell me what you know.
He fought in the Gulf War as a teenager, the youngest person in the SAS. His job was to track down and destroy mobile Scud missile
British
launching
USA.
platforms. You were there too, I believe.
Oh, born in US,
Infiltrate
moved to
Western
England.
Iraq with a platoon of Green Berets.
I was just a kid myself back then.
The details are classified, but it seems that originally he penetrated the Middle East as a sleeper for
So
the
he was
SIS.
he went MIA in Iraq.
Spy for the British Secret Intelligence Service?
But he never once showed his face in Century House. He was taken prisoner in Iraq, and after that there was no trace of him for several years.
He knows a lot of languages.
After you retired, he was rescued and became a member of Foxhound.
I thought that by the time I left, they were no longer using code names.
I don't know his real name. That information is so highly classified that even I can't look at it. Here's a photo of him. Pretty shocking, huh? His skin tone is different, but otherwise you two are exact duplicates.
I have a twin?
Yeah,
Don't know
apparently
the
so.
details, but it seems so.
Twin
That's why
snakes.
we really need you for this mission.
Okay, name the
You're
remake.
the only one who can beat him. Now that I've met you, I know. You've got something that he doesn't. I can see it in your eyes.
Why don't I find that thought more comforting?
Okay, I think we can have a chat now. That was interesting. I mean, it doesn't really tell us anything, but a lot of the information we get is in the field. Like, they didn't tell us anything about the weapons, but Snake tells us what the weapons are when we're there, because he points out that they're carrying pineapples. There was other stuff as well. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, they don't tell us much about the hostages, other than the fact that there's two there. That's it. But we learn about the hostages when we're in there. So a lot of this information is literally just extra information that either is already confirmed, implied, but not yet known. Sorry, but other information that isn't here is information that's not yet known until we play the game. Which I think is clever, because it means you get to avoid spoilers with this. But, you know, for a group of soldiers with 180 IQ, not being able to figure out how to climb a fucking ladder is pretty damn telling. I suppose we'll swing back into the story though. Pick up from where we left off, where I had to run off and collect my stuff. Like, I'm not sure if I should go into details about Grey Fox's past, because that requires spoiling Metal Gear 2, or his story in Metal Gear 2. But Grey Fox had a very tragic past. Like, is really fucked up, and it's rather interesting how it plays out. But it really emphasizes things with Grey Fox. He's a man who just basically... He's a man who's basically unable to be happy. Not because he himself isn't capable of it, but because life just doesn't let him. It's kind of like how Otacon, he has people he loves, but all the women in his life die. anyone he loves dies. It's kind of tragic how those two characters play out. Because it's like life is conspiring against them. And you learn more about Otacon's past in the second game, and in the fourth game. So I won't go into details about the people he lost. But having him come back, Grey Fox, during the final scene was interesting because they were clever enough to remove the face mask to make it more personalized. Because I think if he didn't have the face mask open, it would still have been dramatic, but I think there would have been something missing about not being able to see his face. It's kind of hard to articulate, but that's the best way I can put it. It was a really good design choice to have him reveal his face. And then again, I love his little, a cornered fox is more dangerous than a jackal, before completely eviscerating the radon. Grey Fox is a boss, like, not just, factually, but also factually. He's a fucking boss. I'm kind of happy they didn't introduce something like Running Man. He was the weirdest fucking boss in Metal Gear 2. There was a boss that literally, as soon as he shows up, all he does is run away from you. And he just brags about how fast he is. And to defeat him, you just have to put down claymores and then run, because everything is based in a circle. You need a gas mask so you don't suffocate, because the entire room is filled with gas. You then put claymores down on the narrow pathways. Then you go around to the unclaymored pathway. The trick is to make him run away from you, which will force him into the claymore pathway, and he gets hit. And that's his boss fight. That is him to a T. Claymore, run around, he runs into it, and you keep doing it. It was such a stupid boss. But I'm so happy this game didn't have almost. They did sort of include it. The boss fight with Vulcan Raven did have that element of running around like a fucking lunatic. But at least he had a Gatling gun. At least he could fight back. There was something to it. But yeah, you just slap down a grenade and you chase him around, and well, he's chasing you around really. But that's an improvement over a concept, I think. Turning the Running Man into, Raven as a boss encounter. I think that's a clever evolution. The Hind D is hilarious because it's been in most of the Metal Gear games. God. And in Metal Gear 2, it actually had its own spot in the credits. It was actually in the credits. Hind D. Like, why? It's just a fucking choppy. Someday I'll go back and play that again. I don't really want to. The games were built for the olden days of gaming, which meant there was so much hidden stuff that you had to find, but they never told you where they were, and there were some weird restrictions and gimmicks that if you fuck up would force you to restart the entire game. And because of it, they were borderline unplayable. You could play it, you just needed a guide for a lot of time. Yeah, exactly. He just literally runs into the mines. Kind of like how Raven ran into the last two mines to finish himself off. I didn't even have to fight him at the end. He just finished himself off for me. Kind of like that rat, actually. My last claymore after that fight, I just put it down, walked off, the rat blew himself up, and I picked it up. That's basically the concept. I don't know. I think Running Man is just a hilarious fight. Because it's just like, look at me, I run. I'm super proud of the fact that I can run super fast. And that was it. If you went in without the gas mask, you're fucked. If you went in without claymores, you were fucked. You actually had to have those two pieces of equipment to fight him. If you didn't, you actually died. Because you either couldn't catch up to him, or... yeah, you either couldn't catch up to him or you got gassed. And in both cases, you still got gassed. I just find that fight hilarious in a dumb way. Metal Gear 2. Well, back to the main game. I'm happy I didn't fall into any trap holes. There's nothing more humiliating in this game for some strange reason than falling into those fucking pit traps. You could forgive it in most other games, but in this one it's like you hear that doo-doo before, like a solid minute before the doors open and you fall. It's like you have to literally just stand there and let it happen for it to happen half the time. And some of the machine gun cameras have weird angles. Like most of them you could stand under and nothing would happen, but there was that one camera in the lava pit zone that could look straight down for some reason. Like some of the cameras just behave weirdly. And it's not like it's consistent. It's kind of like just a bugged camera that's functionally different than the rest, just placed on one obscure location. Kept me on my toes, I'll say that much. But I thought it was a dick move where if you accidentally triggered the cameras inside the PAL room where you input the keys, that the PAL room will literally close up and gas you, but you can't actually codec Otacon, so you can't escape. So you're literally left there to die. I thought that was a dirty thing. Extremely dirty. But I still love the fact that after we got through the codes, I went out to grab that the fucking, what was the name of him? The ration. So I opened up my menu to use one to pick up the one that was on the ground. And as soon as I opened up my menu, you heard the da-da-da, and there was a half-naked fucking liquid snake there, right in front of us. For some reason, that just cracks me up. It was just there, half fucking naked. I swear. And I love the absolutely unnecessary detailed choice to add nipples onto the characters. Absolutely unnecessary detail. I appreciate it. I genuinely appreciate unnecessary details. Especially since in this day and age, they'll never include them. They kept information about why they needed Big Boss from Snake. So as it turns out, they needed it to cure the... Well, they did tell us why, but not why. They wanted to study his DNA, but they didn't tell him that his DNA was actually used for everything, which explains why Snake was so surprised in it. That's really clever. The briefings actually don't give you away anything. They hint enough, but they don't give you away everything. And I swear, that reveal where Master turns out to be Liquid was pure genius, especially back in the day. Like, why? Because it explains one of the big things. Like, why the fuck was Liquid on top of the radio tower with a Hind D? There was no reason for him to be there, but he was. And he was there because he got the information through our codec. he was able to talk to us when we were on top of the head about details that we were revealed in the codec, like the bombs coming, because he was listening in. He literally has access to our comms. And I thought that was genius. It also solidifies his claim that the only reason he got as far as he did is because they let him, because they wanted to use him to gather information and to break the nuclear launch codes and figure out how the PAL key works. And he did. They succeeded, but at the same time, Washington succeeded because Snake was a biohazard. There's so many plot twists and tricks thrown all over the place. Finding out that you're the carrier of Foxdie. Like, that was... There's so many dirty things in the story. I thought it was brilliant because it's like one plot twist after another plot twist after another plot twist. And I like how they do all that. But at the same time, they kind of back up on the villains and kind of humanizes them in small ways. They don't absolve them in any capacity, but it's like, I'm here because of this reason. And then they make this little revelation at the end that life could have been a little bit different, or I discovered the truth about myself. Like I said before, Wolf discovered that truly she only wanted to die. She wanted someone to kill her. But that's why she was in the fight. She wasn't there to make the world a better place or just can be another cog in a machine that's beyond her. But and then Psycho Mantis, he was a person who, through the worst of it, got the worst of it. Because with his mind-reading abilities, he saw the worst of people at all times. The parts of us that are in our mind but we never say out loud for one reason or another, obviously. Or the first thoughts, or the intrusive thoughts, the worst ones. Holding the baby and think, wow, I could probably kick this baby really far. You will never do it. You think yourself as a horrible person if you did do it. But the thought is there. That's an intrusive thought. And everyone has a thought like that at some point. It's not that you will do it. It's like, this could happen. It just won't. And he had full access to all that bullshit. And ended up messing them up pretty fiercely. But it was at the end he made his revelation that helping people with his power was actually a good feeling. It's something he could have been good at. It probably might have been who he was supposed to be, but he just got destroyed by the people around him. Was there anyone else like that? Raven wasn't like that. Raven was just there. He was like an observer and a tester and someone who... Yeah, that's basically him. He observed us, he tested us, but he didn't begrudge us or anything, but he did tell us that we weren't going to have any rest, any peace. And by everything that happens in the future games, he's not wrong. Well, it technically is by the end of the 4th game, since Snake does technically find peace there. We'll see anyway, because we've a lot to get through. And we'll take our time, we'll get it done. I feel like I'm missing something. Something obvious. We figured out the wolves. Like, by the time, like, getting the piss box was only useful for briefly for that moment. After we got out of the torture room, the piss box was useless because we had the handkerchiefs. And after we lost the handkerchief, we were never returning to that area again anyway, because we were moving on to the second disc. So it's kind of weird like that. Fast travel as well, that's only useful on the first disc. After we get into the second disc, the cardboard box becomes useless outside of its initial purpose of hiding. I like that, God. Making use of the mine detector was actually kind of funny. Especially during the Raven boss fight. Because I kept putting down so much claymores. I didn't know which way was up. And I swear I almost ran into my own claymores on more than one occasion. Ugh. Ugh. I'm trying to remember the bosses towards the end. I know, I think we covered most of the really important stuff, didn't we? Yeah, it was great coming back to this game, especially since we get to see the difference between this place now and images in the future. You know. But, fuck. Coming back to this game after all this time, knowing what we know, it does kind of change up small things. Knowing how Ocelot and the President will be involved in the second game kind of really changes up how that ending stinger works in this game. Oof. I'm struggling to think here. Oh God. Yeah, the sniper rifle. During that last boss fight against Rex, dear God, I wish I could drop weapons just so I could throw away the fucking sniper rifle. For whatever reason, it being right beside the shaft grenades fucked me. Royally fucked me. Absolutely hilarious. Though frustrating as well. It took a hot minute to figure out how to fight Rex. Like, the first stage was actually really easy. But the second stage was a bit tricky because for some reason the Seeker missiles become hyper aggressive. Much more than they were in the first round. Of course, we figured out the trick. It's a lot of getting in and out of his different ranges to force him into different animations. Particularly the machine gun animation, because the machine gun animation is the easiest to dodge. Laser, that's just back forth. Machine gun's just left, right. And the missile launcher is just run back towards him. So you're kind of forcing this weird cycle of animations while trying to pop the radome. And of course, you can get some free hits in if you still have shaft grenades. But, yeah, that took a lot to figure out. I'm still kind of pissed that I wasn't able to get forced Rex to do his super jump, because I would have loved to have caught that on camera, just so I could say, yeah, no, it's right there. Rex does in fact have that extreme mobility, and I know it has it. I've seen it. I've done it in the original game on the PS1. It's just I wish I could have forced it. What else was there? Well, we can't do the trace around feature or combo because that's New Game Plus stuff, and it requires the FAMAS, so I'd have to progress a fair bit into the game to pick that up. But like, again, as I mentioned in the last video, if you have the bandana and you have the FAMAS, and you empty the FAMAS's ammo down to the last 3 bullets, the red bullets, and you equip the bandana keeps those last 3 bullets from depleting, but because they're red bullets, they track enemies. So they're literally like little hornets just zooming around the place. Very useful. Super useful. But only usable in New Game Plus or Plus Plus, assuming you survive the torture sequence in either play. If you don't, well, you're piss out of luck, you know? Weird question. Are you getting loading delays or something like that? What's the term? Buffering? Yeah, are you getting bufferings on my stream? So I might be using too much upload data. Because the more I'm using, the more you suffer. Which means the worse your internet, the more buffering you're going to get. It is what it is, I guess. Ugh. What am I thinking of? I can't think what I'm thinking of. That's good, Hero. That's very good. At the very least, it means you have better internet than me, at least. Or comparable internet. Shouldn't be too hard. Basically, I'm not using fiber, so it's not like I have the hyper internet, but I don't have to go higher than the amount I'm using. I am using an insane amount of bitrate. Like, the recommended bitrate is like 6K for what I'm doing, but there's so much screen tear and pixelation that I bumped myself up to 12K just to remove most of it. Like, I'm streaming at double the recommended amounts. Fuck, I think it might be even more than that. Yeah, the recommended amount is 4,500. Now I'm streaming at 12,000. And and the reason why I bumped it from 10,000 to 12,000 was so my model won't be as pixelated all the time. Because it was always blurry in my past streams. Now it's a little better, but not by a lot. Kind of nasty how that works out. But back to Metal Gear. I don't know. I just found it really fun that Natasha ends up playing an important background role to future games. I completely forgot she disappeared. I forgot she disappeared, but I also forgot that she had some relevancy in 2 and 4. Small relevancy, but still significant. At least in 2. But she completely disappeared off the face of the earth after this game because you never talked to her again. Characters do. We don't. Can you think of anything? Because I'm drawing a blank on so many things right now. Like, I talked about so much. I mean, we bet the crap out of Grey Fox with our fists, especially when he's exploding. Because that's what real men do. It's a battle of fists. You finish your fists, don't use a gun. Real men use their fists. Oh, God. We're going through that fight shouting, "Hurt me more," was entertaining. For me. Don't know about anyone else. But I do find it interesting that so many of these units were... so many of the members of Foxhound knew Big Boss, and they were directly involved with Big Boss. And somehow they became special forces. And then we learned that, yeah, they were with Big Boss, but they got brought into Foxhound and other organizations as part of contract buyouts. So America just bought out the contracts of their former enemies and then turned them into soldiers. Patriotic soldiers through re-education and retraining. Great how that ended up, isn't it? I find it interesting that most of them call Liquid Snake Boss. Because the last time we saw a boss, or the boss, was Metal Gear Solid 3. So I guess the boss hasn't been hasn't gotten as big a significance until the third game, because that's when they made a big deal out of the title, The Boss and the Big Boss. Until then, it was just generic code names. I don't know what to say. Yeah, that's true. Him being able to deflect everything. But the thing is that when he starts exploding and all those pulses start coming out of his body, you can actually shoot him there. And a lot of people would recommend it, but I say don't. Just don't. You started with your fists, ended with your fists. Fuck, you started with your fists in Metal Gear 2, when you beat each other to death in a minefield. That was an actual fight. You actually fought Gray Fox in a minefield. It was actually a dumb fight. I kind of accidentally bugged his AI and ended up in an infinite loop of me punching him while he spun in circles. God, I love that that these games pick up on each other. And it's like, Metal Gear 1 and 2 didn't have a lot going for it. 1 had like the basic of basic stories you could possibly get put into it. And 2, you can tell they really tried to emphasize story. And then Metal Gear Solid, they just took that, but no one knew about 1 and 2 because they were made for ancient consoles. Everyone just came, and because of the rebranding, it wasn't Metal Gear 3, it was Metal Gear Solid. Because, you know, they changed it to Solid for, of all reasons. It was because it was the first 3D game. They were the first quote-unquote solid game. Because everything was in 3D. It's actually kind of funny. Why did Google Translate change it to sexy funny? Why are you changing my words, Google? Translator Chan is being a bitch today. I actually never go back over and read my the translations anymore, because I know it's fucking with me. God, Translator Chan is bollocks. Did that say Chinese Alexa? God, fuck Translator Chan. Anyway, but yeah, I actually did try that once. You know, go into the fight and see if I could actually hit him while using all different kinds of weapons, just to see what would work. I think there is a rare instance where you could hit it, but it's so impossible and situational to pull off that you might as well just use your fists. God, Translator Chan really hates me. Ugh. One of these days. One of these days. I actually do have to figure out something about getting a better translator. I hear there's programs for that, but I'm not sure if I can intertwine it in with OBS. Plus, one of the best things about the translator I'm using right now is that I don't have to update anything. Because it's all client side, I just have to have an open web browser, and there you go. It has to be Chrome, which is the only downside. I don't know. Wait, I'm trying to remember. Wasn't Foxhound made by the Big Boss? Because I think that was information that was in Metal Gear 5. Does that make sense? Because Snake was part of Foxhound. And Foxhound was Big Boss's unit. And Big Boss... Yeah, I think Foxhound was Big Boss's. Yeah, established by the legendary soldier Big Boss. It specialized in covert solar infiltration to cope with local revolutions. Yeah, okay, consider modern visions of... To the extent that they were considered modern versions of the ninja. All its members were battle-hardened veterans, with many coming from mercenary backgrounds. Because of its status as high-tech special forces infiltration unit, any and all members of Foxhounds have heavily trained and rigorously taught a wide variety of survival, martial, and operational skills, from plethora of insertion and maneuvers methods to skydiving techniques and underwater infiltration, in order to cover all possible routes of infiltration into an enemy nation. Outdoor survival skins, varying martial arts, emergency medical operations, basically Metal Gear Solid 3. Foxhound's precursor was a rebel group established by Naked Snake, Big Boss, and Roy Campbell on the Sans Hieronymo Peninsula in 1970. Oh, right. 1970 was the Paradox year for the first PlayStation Portable game. After both were taken prisoner during the incident, the two formed a resistance group to take down the renegade Fox unit, led by Gene. Oh, right, this is the events of the PSP game. This information is outside of the saga, so its information is canonically up for debate because no one knows where it sits in, whether or not the game properly sits in the saga, and it's well known for being half canon, which means only some information is canon, but no one knows what information is canon and how much. So that information is kind of not good to focus on. Carrying out the traditions of Major Zero and his Fox unit, Big Boss established Foxhound in 1971. The group was organized into an official unit within the US Army. The concept having been considered as early as 1964. Big Boss originally commanded the group, though he soon left both Foxhound and America to form the Militares Sans Frontières, which is peace. I'm not forgetting the name, Peace Walker. And it would be almost 20 years before he returned to his country to retake command of the unit. That's probably some time after the events of Metal Gear Solid 5. So, oh, that would make sense. Big Boss's leadership style was characterized by the instinctive and wild strategies it employed in planning Foxhound operation. Snake joined in 95 and aided in rescuing Grey Fox, which was the first game from Outer Heaven, or Haven. Yeah, he encountered the mysterious leader who turned out to be Foxhound's own commander, Big Boss. Established Outer Heaven in secret some years before returning to Foxhound. Oh, so he... Oh, yeah, that's right. Following the betrayal of Foxhound, Big Boss fled to Central Asia after having survived with the help of a body double in Outer Heaven. Right, yeah, and that kind of explains some of the extra details in 5. Oh, so Liquid became the leader of Foxhound in 2000, 5 years after. Oh, right, yeah. Okay, so that's a lot of information about Foxhound. And I wasn't going to cover all of it because some of it is, you know, spoiler territory. Though I did end up dropping a couple of spoilers there. Oh boy. Yeah, I remember they made some changes to the story. You see, originally you did actually kill Big Boss in the first game, but he was basically turned into the Terminator and brought back to life as a weird robot hybrid hell-bent on murder. And you had to kill him again in the second game. But that was errated. So that in the first game, what you killed was a body double. And in the second game, you actually find Big Boss, you know, still alive and well, and having to defeat him again. That's how they retold this. I'm pretty sure the game files that we'll be playing when the HD collection comes out follows that storyline, the old storyline. So there's probably going to be a lot of confusion from some people, lore buffs, who actually survived playing the first 2 games. They were made in an era where they had to force people to buy games multiple times to make more money. People complain that, oh, there was no microtransactions and scummy tactics back in the day. There was. People rented games and they got a cut from those rental fees. So make them rent it again. Force people to make multiple rentals, and in doing so, they cranked up the difficulties of their games. That's what they did. Sure, I think there was an apology that was given because of that, and they actually had to rework the original game so that they were actually playable when they re-released them on Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. And if you wanted to, you could play the original difficult as balls version, but there was a reworked easier mode introduced in that game. Oh. Also, conceptually, I love Rex. I think we'll back up there because we all know all the different Metal Gears, you know, that are canon. I loved Rex because visually he looks like this massive industrial beast, this big chonker of a machine. Nothing fancy or futuristic, but well-meaning and intentful, and thematically appeasing. But what was terrifying about him was that it's how he deployed nukes. A fucking underground bunker buster nuke that could be fired without fuel using a giant magnetic rail cannon that had the range of the entire fucking planet. That is next level bullshit. It technically means that Rex doesn't really have to move. The fact that it can move itself from A to B is just like an added bonus. A walking nuclear bombardment launcher base with the range of the entire world, plus some because it can penetrate the Earth. That's insane. Conceptually, that is the most terrifying Metal Gear ever produced. I mean, I know you could argue that other Metal Gears were stronger or so on and so forth, but none of them filled their function quite like Rex did. And the fact that Rex became, his data was released to the world after the events of Shadow Moses, producing an insane amount of poorly constructed rip-offs, which implies that there was a lot of fights between Snake and Metal Gears between the events of Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2. A lot of potential stories there, but nothing we actually needed to see. I think the one story I wish we got was what Metal Gear Rising was originally supposed to be. Rising was supposed to be a bridge between Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 4, focusing on Raiden and how he was able to rescue Sonny and find Big Boss's body, which were all important information in the fourth game. But we never got that. We actually never got that game because a whole bunch of bullshit happens and they weren't quite able to fix their cut mechanics to function the way it was supposed to, because it was supposed to be a full real-time, always active, true cut system. But they ended up outsourcing the entire game to the same type of people that made Ninja Gaiden. And they just took that mechanic and turned it into its own little QuickTime thing. And then they just went ham with the game. Don't get me wrong, Metal Gear Rising is one of the most fun games you're ever going to play. But I'm always going to be disappointed by the fact that we got Rising over Metal Gear 2.4. Ugh. Well, it can't be helped. God, I'm trying to think of things to say because there's a lot I want to talk about, but it's all coming up blank now. I think if we covered everything important, like the game is very quick. There's a lot of random information, and because I didn't do the codex stuff, I missed out on stuff. Like there's a secret conversation with Mei Ling, I think, where if you keep tapping the equip and unequip button over and over and over and over, and then you talk to Mei Ling, I think it was Mei Ling, I'm assuming it's Mei Ling. It's possible to get a codec conversation where Mei Ling tells you about your nanites being able to disassemble and reassemble your equipment. So the fact your gun is disappearing is canonically your nanites taking apart the gun and storing it in your body, and then reassembling the gun all near instantaneously whenever you re-equip it. I wish, now that I think about it, I wish I got that conversation. Wish I knew who the fuck you're supposed to talk to get that conversation. There's a lot, and you could only get that conversation in the helipad area the first time you arrive at the helipad area. So it was a very missable conversation. I've only ever gotten the conversation once myself when I was younger. I don't know. Oh, fuck me. I honestly don't know. I'm gonna have to make plans. I'll have to play Metal Gear Solid 2 at some point. Don't know when I'm going to play Metal Gear Solid 2, but we have to do it. I'll probably I probably play 2. I might play 3. I might wait though. Because I think if we can get our hands on the PC release of them, we can play with full 1080p quality. Because we were playing with, I think it was like 720 right now. Maybe even less than. Because, well, this game is a fucking square. Look at this. Oh, wait, no. I was supposed to hit exit there. Why did it put me in the middle of pass? What's special? Previous operations and demo theater. What? Now I'm curious. Oh, that's the previous games. The first 2 games. My guess is this is just information. Yeah, look, it's just information about the previous 2 games. Better to play it than to read it. Want to see as well if we actually unlock the costume. I only want to know if we actually unlocked it. Which means we have to get past the first base. Right. We'll go up, get ready. God, the pixelation is terrible, but I love it. This game is just a classic. There's the bandana. Words, limitless, sewn onto us. I like how the bandana gets such an important existence, or represents something so important to the big boss later on in the series.
What was that noise?
No, I won't take any risks. We'll just wait. Everything's basically time gated. Come on. Hurry up. Actually, can I just call you and get you back? I guess we're waiting. Ooh. A ration right there. Oh, there's actually... Oh, so if I chased him like I had planned to, I would have gotten myself in a lot of trouble. Aha! Okay, everyone's on the move. Alright, now we get to see if we're wearing our tuxedo. Tuxedo. Nope. I guess I have to beat it 3 times to get the tuxedo. Okay, I try and skip as much of this stuff as well, just to double check, make sure we don't have it. Yeah, no, we don't have the tuxedo. That's disappointing. I guess it's after 3 clears.
Their own.
Okay. Yeah, let's go down here. Reset game. Disc 1. Okay. Oh god, that is an old splash screen. Look at that. Jesus Christ. Do you remember this? Do you remember this? Does it give you any feelings of the past? God, that is the good shit, like the good old-fashioned shit, you know, man.
Island in Alaska's Fox Archipelago was attacked and captured by Next Generation Special Forces, being led by members of Foxhound.
I agree. That's the type of stuff that's just missing in life, you know?
Over the remains of Big Boss, and they say that if their demands are not met within 24 hours, they'll launch a nuclear weapon. You'll have 2 mission objectives. First, you're to rescue DARPA Chief Donald Anderson and the president of Armstech, Kenneth Baker. Both are being held as hostages.
Right, I suppose I shouldn't hold up everyone from here on out. I should probably get off. We had a nice conversation, I think. We talked about a lot of stuff Metal Gear and a couple of stuff not Metal Gear. So, is there anything left to talk about? Like, really? I don't think so. I don't think I got any photos of ghosts. Like, isn't there supposed to be ghosts in the first game as well? I never went back to get the camera. Oh, I'm an idiot. I never went back to get the camera. I was supposed to go back and get the camera. The one tool I was missing was the photo camera. And I know where it is. I just completely forgot about it. And I was there before. I came back because I was looking for the stuff. I just forgot that it was there. And what I was looking for. Holy shit. I'm a fucking idiot. If I'm free tomorrow, I'm probably going to stream, Damn, you're right. God, I can't believe I forgot about the ghosts. Well, it can't be helped. Maybe we'll, if we think about it, maybe we'll try and capture them in Metal Gear Solid 2. Try and get as many of the dog tags as we can as well. Now let's see. I still am proud of the fact that we managed to get on screen Johnny's twin moons. I don't know why I'm proud of the fact that we got that on screen. We got that on screen. Anyway, I'm going to definitely stream more Persona 4 tomorrow, because I haven't streamed it in what, 2-3 weeks now, and I really need to get that going. We'll start Metal Gear Solid 2 at some point. I'll have to start picking some good days for it. I'll debate whether or not to start Metal Gear Solid 3. But I might wait for... I definitely won't touch Peace Walker until we get the PC release. Because the progress I made on the PS4, on the PS3, I don't want to lose that progress. But I do also want to start over, so everyone get to see all the brilliant bullshit along with me. Plus, depending, because of how 3 works, 4, maybe 4 is playable. That's something I'm going to have to try and figure it out. When Peace Walker comes out, there's going to be an influx of multiplayer games, people playing multiplayer. So could the PC version work with the PS3 version? Would the PS3 version work with the PS5 version? Would all the games be cross-play on Peace Walker? Because Peace Walker is its own, is a host-to-host thing. So would it be possible for different consoles, or would it be locked per console? That's going to be a very good question, something to explore when we get to it. Because they had to do away with the servers from the PSP version, which is why the PSP can't do multiplayer anymore. Or the PSP version of the game can't do multiplayer. But PS3 version can, because they changed the connection type to peer-to-peer. So players, well, one player will host and the others will join, and that's how it works. So that's why it was able to survive and continue to be multiplayer to this day, with so little support for it. At least that's how it was explained to me. So the question is, will this peer-to-peer version still work? And how will it connect? And will it be peer-to-peer purely, or will different consoles be able to... would it be isolated per console, or would they all be able to work? I imagine it would all work. So I don't know. I don't think Konami is going to make any major changes to the game, to the games, or to the game's code. They don't care enough to do that, as far as I'm aware. Like, all they did was up the resolution from 720 to 1080, but they didn't touch the FPS. And apparently they didn't even upgrade the Switch version of the game. I don't know. It's going to be worth looking into, and it's only like a month away. So when we get the game, I'm definitely going to explore the multiplayer features. Anyway, Persona 4 tomorrow. I'm going to get off for now, and I'm going to rest my voice because it feels a little torn right now. So, thanks for popping in. Thanks for this chat. And I think it was great returning to this game. It was really fucking good coming back to this game. I'm happy I decided to play the series, and I'm happy I decided to play it when I did. Yeah, we'll continue Metal Gear Solid 2, and hopefully before the month is out, we'd have knocked out Metal Gear Solid 2. If we're lucky, Metal Gear Solid 3. So, good luck, goodbye, I wish you all the best. Thanks for dropping in. I am gone. Wait, no, that's the wrong one.